Hey guys, first of all, Comic Book University and Unstoppable Wasp, issue number 8. Now, I got bad news. This is the last issue. Yeah, that's right. I read from 1 to 8, and I'm really sad it's actually ended. Wow, that sucks. What are you going to do? Anyway, really good issue. They clearly knew that they were going to have to wrap things up well in advance, and they did. And not only did they wrap things up, but they really put things in an excellent order. They got a whole lot out of this issue. Like, holy crap, so much happened in this issue. I had to keep on looking back and see, like, how many pages am I into this? Oh, man. So Bobby Morse gets to join them, which is cool. Like, she gets to come and go and be an engineer again, which is freaking awesome. Bioengineer, all that good stuff. Anyway, so we get a wrapping up story, where Nadia finally gets the proof of her parentage. She gets the DNA sample. She chooses Van Dyne, however, as her last name as opposed to Pym, because she had to, choose the last name. So she never really had a last name before. She was just Nadia, even though she knew she was technically Nadia Pym. She chose Van Dyne because of all that Janet has done for her. So that's going to be really weird explaining this to people in the future. So please read this comic just for that, to understand where it came from. We get to see a whole bunch of wrapping up, and probably that for me, like, guys, there was a whole lot inside this issue. But for me, the biggest thing is that they were able to wrap up the story in a sense of Hank Pym being a spousal abuser. Because I've had an issue with this for a long time, in that Reed Richards hit his wife multiple times. He hit Sue Storm multiple times. Man, I would smack that rubberneck son of a gun, he's rubber everything, into next week. like, how dare you, And so, like, here it is, this mistake that happened, and I'm saying, like, in real life, this mistake where an artist gets a little overzealous with the way that something was supposed to be done. Anyway, so that being what it is, Janet Van Dyne and Nadia Pym kind of resolve this and say, yes, it's not that he was an evil man, it's that he had a mental illness and he put his pride over his ability to deal with his mental illness. Rather than taking medicines and, the medication that he would need and seeking therapy for how he was feeling and everything inside of him, he chose to instead just ignore my own wishes, meaning Janet's own wishes. And it's a really mature way of looking at things. Dude, do I have to make a disclaimer? Beating your wife is not acceptable. Beating anyone is not acceptable. If you ever feel the need to put your hands on someone, understand you've already lost the argument. Done. Conversation's over. But the idea that this is finally addressed better than any other time I've ever seen this addressed, this is fantastic. And I anybody who actually follows me, I really love getting into the psychology of characters. And that's because my love of psychology. And boom, here you go. This was fantastic. It's essentially the clinical way to try and explain this particular situation. Because you got to admit, you're not right in the head if you're going to hit somebody. I mean, you claim to love someone, but you hit them. I don't care who you are, the biggest guy or the smallest guy, you don't hit your friends, right? But you're going to hit your wife. Why? So yeah, that's pretty much, it should be self-explanatory, but that's coming from me, who actually looks at these sort of things. To a layman, I'm still technically a layman, whatever. I'm going to get off that subject. Guys, this was really good. I could see how social justice obstructors would hate this. It's essentially a social justice warrior kind of thing. It's an anti-misogyny, anti-sexism thing. But yeah, there's a lot of this in this comic. So the only thing I can recommend for you guys is, fortunately for you, the comic has ended, but unfortunately for you, you probably haven't realized to stop hate reading a comic that you clearly don't like. If it's got a message you don't like, brother, don't read it. You know what I'm saying? I really don't know what else to tell you. But I don't read Nazi propaganda comics because I know I'm not going to like them. So anyway, I'm still, however, only going to end this with a B-. I really did enjoy this series. It got a little convoluted at times. It got a little inflated at times. It was essentially all over the place. So, but of course, I don't think that's the reason why it ended. I'm pretty sure it was sales. Regardless, I did like the comic. I did like the series. I did even like this issue. It's just, I felt that there was a bit too much in this issue. I know they were trying to wrap things up, but there's a limit, of not wrapping it up well enough and wrapping up a little bit too much. So they gave us something for the future. At the end, I did not know that Megan Wilson, the colorist here, was actually a civil engineer. That is freaking awesome. That is awesome. Hey, Meg, if I ever get into comics and we start working together, I'm a former electrical engineer. Maybe we can make something totally awesome together. Like, a death ray. I've always wanted to make a death ray. Not that I'd want to necessarily, shoot it at people. Just the idea to say, yeah, I'm the guy who actually created the death ray. I know it's Nikola Tesla. He apparently had the plans, but I actually want to be the person who makes the death ray. Okay, anyways, death rays aside. Guys, I really did like this issue. It was good stuff. Professor Bill, Comic Book University. Class dismissed.